Welcome, everyone, to Haven of Horror. As always, I am Subject, and we have the one and only Robert
Hello.
Nancy Wheeler Wild.
How you doing?
how's
Yes,
it?
that is my full name.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Do you want me to check the audio just to make sure we're both coming through on YouTube?
Except it doesn't have a picture. God damn it.
Oh, weird.
No, I forgot to switch scenes. Timer still going. Ah,
Oh yeah, gotta reset that timer.
where's the timer program? Stop. Reset. All right. Robert, what is the episode? We're on episode 7. 7 of 9. What is the Star
That
Trek?
character's not in this show. Yes, you're on episode 7, which I wish we were just skipping. It's a great place
Lost.
to start.
Oh, fuck.
The Lost Sister.
Should I just title this The Bathroom Break?
No, gotta be consistent. Gotta be honest. We're honest YouTubers here.
All right. All right. This is episode 7 of season 2 of Stranger Things The Lost Sister. Robert, are you at time stamp 0?
I am, sir.
Now, do you remember, is there anything important to this season in this episode?
It's really, I mean, the stuff that matters in this episode is we do see Eleven get a lot stronger. She does start to hone in more with her powers. That's the main thing it contributes to where we get at the end of the season.
Right, but does
Do a
this
whole
do
lot
anything with Steve or
No, this
Nancy?
is almost entirely Eleven's story, but
Okay.
the storylines do connect.
I ask that because probably before the final season comes out, I'm going to show this to my friend. And I've been on the fence about skipping this episode.
I think there's a good chance. I obviously, for those who don't know, this one is a backdoor pilot for a spinoff that never got happened. That never happened. I still think there's a chance they bring at least the actress playing her sister back just for at least one episode in the final season, just to say it wasn't filler and mattered, and just try it to. I could see them wanting to tie up that loose end for the final season, even if it's just one episode. I do see them bringing her sister back.
Okay. So I'm,
So
I'll have a
I
better sense of
wouldn't
that
say
when they
skip
release
it.
a trailer. If she's in that trailer, then I won't skip it, but we'll see.
Okay.
But anyway, in 3, 2, 1, go. And obviously, this commentary was a bad idea. We lost a subscriber because I turned into a crazy person talking about this show.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I thought it was a fun discussion.
I don't know, dude. There was a couple of times where I was like, "Oh, I better back off. He's a snap."
Well, you got it out of your system.
Not sure, and I don't have that to complain about in 3 because at that point it's over. It's done.
Mm. Now, on this viewing, are you feeling more negative or positive about the season so far than you have previously?
About the same. The stuff that I like is some of the best stuff in the series. It's just everything with Steve and Nancy is ass, and bogs down the season for me. And I think the writers agree with me because we have pivoted hard as of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
If
like
I was watching this on my own, I would just skip to like episode 6 and just watch the Steve and Dustin stuff.
Yeah, and I just don't feel that because I think the premiere is really strong. I think the second episode's mostly very strong. You know, I like a lot of the Halloween stuff.
Well,
it just kind of drags for me in the middle.
okay. Let me restate that. I would fast forward through the stuff that I don't want to
Right.
see.
And
I'd still
I would
watch the
argue that
episodes.
I would say the stuff you would fast forward through is probably 45 minutes of the whole season, an hour top. Because
Never.
even the Nancy, Jonathan, and Murray subplot was way shorter than I remembered. Like, yeah, it's over a couple episodes, but it's only like 3 scenes.
No, it was much shorter than I remember. But so I was thinking, I was like, no, I would skip a whole episode for that. Just fast forward. I don't need to see that ever again.
That's fine.
Robert, I'm outraged.
So, and like you said, the one thing this does contribute that we get back to with season 4 is the idea that 11 isn't the only person. She's not patient zero. She's not the only kid with powers. There are others, which is going to be a really big part of season 4.
How do you feel about that? Does it kind of take away from her specialness?
A little, but I also don't mind Vecna, even with the retconning. Like, I still like Vecna as a villain,
He's
and
probably
her
their
name is
best
11.
villain.
Like, he's a good villain, and like her name is 11, so it was always set up that the chances are there were 10 that came before, which is what we do. You know, her sister is
I think my
number 8.
problem is there's clearly more than 10.
We'll see when we get to it. If you're, I don't, I've seen season 4 one time, so I don't remember if we're consistent with that. And plus, some of them might be 12 or 13 or 14. I don't. She might just be like in the middle.
Simply Boba says this is considered to be the worst episode in the series. I mean, I can't
I
disagree.
A lot of people say that. I don't know if I feel that. So this is where the hot take comes in. I've never hated this episode, and on first viewing, it didn't bother me at all. It's more in hindsight, in retrospect, like the further we get from it, the more I'm like, yeah, that was kind of pointless. And I certainly don't think we needed a whole episode with the subplot. But I did not have like Twitter had like a meltdown when the season dropped, where everyone was like, "Oh my god, episode 7 is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life." And on first viewing, I just didn't have that reaction at all. I thought
Also,
this
Robert, I
episode
forgot
was
to put the timer
fine.
up. So if somebody asks for a timestamp, that's your job now.
Ah, damn it. Okay.
Um, I I
It's
don't think
fine.
this is
This
the worst
episode.
episode of television that I've ever seen in my life. But we you talked about like what is filler. I don't mind filler. This is filler that's wasting my time, and it's worse because it screams backdoor pilot.
I think that's the element I find more egregious because I do like when we explore Eleven's dark side and that push and pull. Like there is a degree of necessary character development here. I just don't think it needs a whole episode because the Duffer Brothers' defense was like there's supposed to be Empire Strikes Back in this episode. It's 11 running off on her own, and does she go off with does Luke go with Vader? Does she go off with the bad guys? And obviously she doesn't. And I think it's cool that we give her that temptation, but again, did we need a whole episode? I don't think so.
Why is her every one of her character arcs just Star Wars?
That's what a lot of the show does.
I know, but it's just weird with her specifically because that's also what they went to for season 4 is, oh, this is her, Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. And and also to be fair, one of the big characters they're pulling from is obviously Carrie, and so they want to kind of be teetering, like, does she go full Carrie? Does she go full dark? So like that makes sense because she does kill a lot of people in season 1.
I would have split this up and made it her whole status quo of like her on her own instead of taking so long and then just info dumping.
That's the problem. Like, we could have all, and again, I hate saying this because I love a lot of stuff with her and Hopper in the first couple episodes, but you could have skipped all that and just had her on her own here. Granted, counter argument is, well, why wouldn't she go see Mike? That makes no sense. Like, that's why you need the Hopper stuff. Like, you need a reason for her to not go see Mike, which is obviously what she would do. Or, like, as you suggest on the last stream, like, maybe she's in the Upside Down longer.
Well, if you're gonna keep, if you just set it her there, you can still keep that scene of her going to Mike but finding him with Max. It's just she's already been on her own, and that's what persuades her to leave town.
Yeah, it's still a flimsy motivation.
Get it? They picked the song "Runaway."
Hmm. It's obvious, but I do like some of the song choices in this episode. And also, I think why I didn't mind this episode on first viewing is it was kind of nice to get out of Hawkins for an episode,
Oh,
to
see,
get
I
somewhere else
never
out in the
have
world,
that.
which is something we get way more of in season 4, but maybe to a fault. But again, on first viewing, like I didn't mind this stuff.
And see, I never have that. Part of the charm of a television show is like there is a place, and like the show is about that place.
Hmm.
Like one of the things I like
Yeah,
about
hope you're
Buffy
in
is
season 2.
they never really leave Sunnydale.
There. Also, if you showed someone this episode or this show and skipped over this episode, you would still have to explain stuff. You would still have to fill in. You'd still have to say, like, okay, this is what happened with her sister. This is why her wardrobe changes. Like, because she's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
look
true.
very different by the end. Like, you would still have to explain stuff. It's
I
not
I find
100%
her
skippable.
I find her like goth attire for the last few episodes really cringy.
I don't find it cringy. Like, it's silly, but it's of the time. I'm glad they didn't stick with it, but I think it works fine for the end of the season. And also back to the commenters' statement in the live chat. Like, is this the worst episode of the series? Like, I don't know. I'd have to watch through the whole thing and really think. Like, yeah, it's on the lower tier for sure, but that's the problem with ranking a binge show is there's always going to be those subplots that stand out and the ones that drag them down. So, like, are there technically worse episodes than this? Like, maybe I don't know.
I think
I
at this point it is my least favorite because 90% of this episode doesn't amount to anything.
right.
It comes right after, and that's the other problem is the placement in the season because this comes right after there's a demigod on the loose. Will is possessed. We got to stop everything to do this.
Right. And the counter argument to that is, well, it's a binge show. You don't have to wait a week to see that resolved. I get wanting to drag out, milk out tension, but it could still be annoying. And this gang's really goofy, but again, I don't hate them. Like, yeah, it's an '80s gang. It's like Bill Paxton and his crew and the Terminator, but it's the stuff they're riffing on. It's consistent. And again, I don't hate Eleven's sister. I like that she has this power of making people see things, which again, we're not really consistent with because when we get to season 4, all those other kids like just have Eleven's powers, right? So we're
Yeah,
not even consistent with that. But even when I'm watching this show with people who haven't seen it before, like for me, this isn't a slog to get through. Like it's just for me myself rewatching it. It's like, yeah, this doesn't amount to much and hasn't aged well. But I don't think it's like a terribly executed episode. It just doesn't. We just don't need a whole episode on this.
you two don't look anything alike.
And as we mentioned before, that teaser or the prologue we get at the start of the season is totally there to make this not feel like filler, to make me like, see, don't worry, like this is important, you know. So that's gonna
Bullshit.
that would be jarring too, though, watching this show with someone and then skipping this episode because they've already seen
Yeah.
these characters in that opening.
Shut
So
up,
it's like, what the
Robert.
hell's going
God damn it, Robert.
on? And like I said, I don't hate that we give Eleven this journey. You know, it's her falling in with like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants or something. You know, like, oh, you've been held back. You should be free. And then 11 has to figure out the balance. And that like there's fine enough character work for her. It's just stretched out. And I think that's the problem with giving her this whole subplot too, or for a whole episode, is that we don't have a subplot to check back in with that picks it up. You know, we don't cut back to Steve or whoever that, you know, because for most episodes of the show, it's like, well, I'm not liking this subplot, but hey, at least I like this one. We're cutting back and forth. Nope, this is all one subplot I don't care a whole lot about.
That is the other big thing. It's just I'm waiting to check back in with Steve or Nate or
That's
Will.
Nancy. Yeah. Yeah, and
And
that's what's
Nancy
killing
can
the
go fuck
pacing
herself.
of this. And I think, at least on this viewing, what I felt is to me, because I also thought this was kind of dragging in the middle. Like, to me, this is a 6 or 7 episode season dragged out. And if they want to make it 8 just to be consistent with season 1, that's fine. This does not need to be a 9 episode season. They did not justify this being an episode longer. This is a lot more
Mm.
stretched out and padded.
So according to the Stranger Things wiki, there are at least 18 of them.
Okay, which would mean that 11's not the last one, you know, because there are kids older than her. And like you said, part of the frustrating thing is just the lack of payoff. Uh, I'll ask you a question. Over under 50%, we bring 11's sister back at all in season 5, even if it's just
I'm
one episode.
I'm under. I don't think they'll do
Okay.
it.
Okay, I'm over, not by a lot, but you know, we'll see which one of us is right. There could also be like just a dumb throwaway line. It could just be exposition, like, "Oh, she's dead. Like this is what happened." Which I would still give you the win on that because that's not actually bringing her back. But they could do something like that, right? Just have a dumb
Mhm.
throwaway line about it,
No, that if she's even mentioned, that's what I expect.
like
They do.
Vecna killed her or something.
I'd be fine with that. Honestly, I would be fine if just off screen he killed all of them except 11 because they're the only ones that can stop him.
Yeah, though I mean, most all the other ones are dead, right? Didn't season 4 show that?
It's so hard to keep track because they even here I
No,
don't buy that there's any of them after 11.
what do you mean?
Well, it always played like she was the last. That's why she's so important.
That's fair. Remember that Matthew Modine's character is her father, and he does have a very specific attachment to her. So that's where his obsession comes from. And like I said, the main problem is just pacing. Like we're 16 minutes in, and I feel like barely anything's happened.
Yeah. Get it? It's the X-Men.
Yep. And I do like the subplot though of hunting down people who used to work there. Like that stuff's cool. I at least like this temptation for 11, giving her this opportunity to hunt and kill these other bad men, who abused her, which we have seen her do.
If they do bring her back, I think it would be interesting if she. I know I said the opposite earlier. I think it'd be interesting if she was working for Vecna.
That could be cool. Even with the way this episode ends, like I don't buy this relationship getting a happy ending. Like,
Yeah.
she could be more of an adversary for 11 in the final season. Use your anger, 11. The dark side makes you stronger.
This is some Force Unleashed shit. Did you ever play that game?
I did. I loved it.
So good. Did you play? Did
Second
you
one
play
was
the
not as good.
PS3 version though?
No, I had the PS2 version.
Okay, so in the PS3
I,
version, I'm sure you know about this because it's kind of infamous. But there's a big QTE where you bring down a Star Destroyer with the Force.
That is in the PS2 version. It's probably just shorter. Um,
I know a lot of people complain about that.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
he's so
very
powerful.
moving.
Yeah, it's just they couldn't do that in the movies. But like, I imagine Vader to be stronger.
I don't know. I think that's silly and too far, but in a game.
Did you like when he caught the Tie Fighter with the Force and Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Uh, uh, but also, there are also people who complain about the Rogue One scene with Vader and say that makes him too OP and goes too far, which I think is ridiculous. I've never agreed with that criticism. He's walking down a hallway and twirling a lightsaber. He's not doing anything that absurd.
The only thing I've heard people complain about is just that's fan service. But like, yeah, so what?
Yeah, yeah. No, I've also heard people complain and say this isn't consistent with A New Hope. He wasn't that powerful. Like he's twirling a lightsaber. Like he's not doing anything that ridiculous. He lifts a guy up and cuts him in half. It's cool. It's
Well, but I
fine.
mean, Lucas himself retcons that in A New Hope. He's just like another foot soldier.
Right.
In Empire Strikes Back, he is second in command.
Yeah. Yes, that is correct. And he's also force choking dudes left, right. He does that one time in the first.
Yeah. I just find it funny when people
We'll go
criticize
over.
modern Star Wars for things that George Lucas himself did.
Oh god, totally. Or the prequels, like just the Leia stuff, and a lot of that's real messy. And I forget, like, Matthew Modine gets a cameo in this episode, right? Like, we do kind of confirm that he's still alive.
It's been so long since I've seen this. The last time I watched Stranger Things outside of this commentaries was when season 4 was coming out, and I can promise you, I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
pay attention to this episode. I like this music.
And like I said, that's another thing that season 4 pays off is, just bringing him back. I still don't entirely know what he's doing between seasons 1 and 3, but whatever. Or between 1 and 4, but I'm glad they give him a lot to do in season 4. And I usually love it when shows expand enough with their ensemble casts that you can dedicate whole episodes to just a couple characters. I usually like that, but maybe it's just because we're in season 2, or maybe it's just because it's a streaming show. It really feels like it just breaks the flow of the show, right?
I,
Like
I
you
don't want to
keep
be
waiting them
mean.
to cut somewhere else.
I don't want to be mean because I agree with you. Millie Bobby Brown does not have the screen presence to carry a whole episode by herself.
I think that's a factor. Like I think she's fine here.
Well, because I just think if you do an episode like this, not this script, but if you make this an episode about Steve and it's just Joe Curie for 40 minutes or to an hour, it's a great
Most people
episode.
are cool with it. I'm shocked they haven't done that. I'd argue that season 4 could and should have done that more instead of having hour and 20-minute episodes. It's like, just make it a 10 episode season and just have a Steve subplot, part of the Steve subplot, just be its own episode.
Mm.
Like, I kind of wish maybe they should have done that instead of having hour and 20-minute episodes and then a 2.5 hour finale.
Even if you just made an episode about Nancy, I think Natalia Dyer could carry an episode.
Yeah.
Millie Bobby Brown is just, she doesn't have any range. And I'm not just talking about Stranger Things. Like everything I've seen her in, she's not that range, that proficient in different kinds of characters.
Well, and she works for this character. Like she's
Yeah.
good in this role, but she works best when she's bouncing off of characters like Hopper or Mike or Joyce.
Mike could also carry an episode.
Yeah, Finn Wolfhard, one of the big breakout stars from the show. Like he is a wonderful actor.
Yeah, because 11 is only interesting through the lens of another character. Just watching her as the protagonist, she doesn't know. She talks awkwardly. She's quiet. Half of her performance is just her standing there doing this.
And she screams and cries. Yeah. She does do a lot of crying.
And like, am I supposed to feel bad for these kids or good for them?
No. They're supposed to be like they are a bad influence on 11. Like she is falling in with the bad crowd. Because earlier we had that scene where like 11 does ask if they kill these people, and they don't lie about it, but the way she explains it, like, hey, they're bad people, we punish them. Like there is a sharp contrast to actually when we cut to seeing them show up at someone's doorstep and shoot them in the face with a gun. Like now that they are framing them as like, no, these are not good people.
Well, but even with that, I can understand their point of view, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're not hurting them now, but they did in the past. Just knocking up a random gas station, that's like petty criminal bullshit.
Well, and I think that's just how they live. Like these are thieves,
Yeah, that's true. I can't take 11 seriously and not get up.
Also, I could be wrong, but I think one thing I heard recently was that Millie Bobby Brown almost got X-23 in Logan, and then
Interesting.
and then Daphne King got it.
I'm kind of glad she
Because that's
didn't.
before. I agree.
I think Daphne Keene is
It
a
worked.
way
It
better
worked out though.
actress.
I think so too. And I know Logan comes out after Stranger Things season 1, but like I don't know the relation of like filming, you know, when those two projects were filmed. This guy looks familiar. 11's mask reminds me of the Happy Death Day mask.
I can see that.
I still need to see those movies.
I haven't seen the second one. The first one's pretty good.
There.
I also liked that movie that director did Freaky.
Oh, with Vince Vaughn.
Because apparently that director's only idea is what if we take like classic stories and turn them into slashers?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
No, I'm not complaining. I just find it funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people are weirdly averse to that. They're like, "Oh, this movie is just this meets this." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how we make new stuff." I don't. Is that a bad thing? It like Edge of Tomorrow, like it's Groundhog Day meets Independence Day or War of the Worlds or whatever. So
No, that movie's solid.
I think that's cool. Yeah, so this is when we get the information that Matthew Modine, Brenner
Okay,
is
so
still
this
alive.
episode, this episode is important.
Yeah.
God damn
Although,
it.
I mean, this isn't brought up at all in season 3. Like, as far as season 3 goes, this episode is pointless. It's not until you get to 4 when we start coming back to some of this stuff. Because I think season 3 is the only one that Matthew Modine isn't in at all. Get it? She's using the force choke. Like I said, I do like that we take 11 here, and I like that what snaps her out of it is this guy having a family. And this is gonna help snap her out of it and realize that she needs to go back to her family, but I don't know why we have 15 more minutes left. Like we can be wrapping this up now. But this is definitely, it's setting up like these two are going to be rivals. We just haven't paid it off yet.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to confess, this episode is kind of better than I remember. It's still a waste of time.
It is. Like, I've never thought it was awful. Like, Twitter had like a meltdown when this season came out. Like, either it was season 2 sucks or season 2 is great, but that episode sucked. And I guess just going in with those expectations on first viewing, I was like, it's fine. I wasn't angry about it.
I'm really curious to see how they handle the kids in the final season because like Millie Bobby Brown is married now.
Dude, like that's insane. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't ruin the show or anything for me because I like some of the character stuff we get, but like in season 4 they're supposed to be freshmen and they do not look like freshmen in high
And
school.
I don't normally mind that, but it's distracting because I have seen them as kids.
Hmm. And then it's funny because you go back to season 1 and like Nancy or Steve, like they're 20 something year olds playing high schoolers, but it's not really distracting. It's more jarring when you're seeing kids in real time growing up drastically over what's supposed to be just a few years. That also reminds me, I remember when like the later Harry Potter movies were coming out, some people were saying, "Oh, the cast is getting too old." Uh like and they're starting to look too old. They should recast. I'm really glad they did it, but they're like 21, 22 by the last one playing 17-year-olds and like I've always thought it's fine. It's just funny when you compare that to like Tom Welling in his mid 20s playing a freshman at the start of Smallville. Like,
And well, then,
wait,
like,
why is this suddenly a problem?
yeah, well, and like with Harry Potter, that's never bothered me just because those characters are so intrinsically linked to those actors, in my opinion. Like when I
Mhm.
think of Harry Potter, it's Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson,
You
Rupert.
know, and the thing most people agree on with at least most of the characters in that franchise just is casting. Like they usually nailed casting. However you feel about some of those movies, and it is a miracle that we got like that trio consistent for the whole thing because Emma Watson and Rupert Grant both were considering dipping out around the
Mhm.
fourth or fifth one. Like that almost happened. So I think it's just amazing that we got them for the whole thing.
There he is.
Oh
So
my
does this fix
god.
your issue with him just showing up in 4? Because like we confirm he's alive here.
Well, okay, so with the guy they just attacked, that confirmed he was alive. But this isn't literally him. She's just making 11 see him to get her head, but
Oh, okay.
it's just to give him a cameo. Which I mean, fair enough. Like I don't mind this scene. That's the problem. It's like there's some decent setup here for like a Professor X versus Magneto type of rivalry. It just doesn't go anywhere. Like
Millie Bobby Brown,
it would
try not
be.
to cry in an episode of Stranger Things. Challenge failed.
Oh god. That's gonna get tough when we get to 4. Like so, I love a lot of 4. It's
4
almost my
is
second favorite season after 1.
her storyline in 4 in some ways feels like regression. I don't believe that season 411 believes that it's okay to assault that girl with that skate.
Um, we'll get to it when we get to it. In the context of it, it's fine. I just don't love that we go there. My problem is we don't get to spend any time just hanging out and having fun with those characters. We immediately have to make everything miserable for them and give them Stephen King bullies again, so that we can then get 11 out of there and do her redemption. So I don't know. Like we'll have that discussion when we get there. But that's where my issue is. Like, does everything have to be miserable already? Like, I just want to hang out with these guys for a couple episodes.
Yeah, and your season's long enough, you could do that.
Hmm. That's why a lot of the Steve and Dustin stuff is great because most of season 3 is just them dicking around,
Yeah.
and it's really fun.
Also, in season 5, can the party just be the party again?
Mhm. No new members. We've got a full set. We're good. And this scene is kind of cool. The way it syncs up to the last one, where she's seeing Hopper and Mike at the facility, and how she's alerted to danger. I just think you should have condensed and rearranged some stuff. Because one of the things that deflates the tension of the next episode a little bit is we already know that Eleven's coming back to save the day, so you're just kind of checking your watch, waiting for that to happen, and then she finally does at the very end of the episode.
Which is funny because that's very shonen. So I know you're not a Dragon Ball fan, but there is a Dragon Ball formula to the first bit because Goku is the strongest, and if he's just there at the beginning, there's no story, there's no thread. So we have to keep finding ways to take him out until it's almost too
Yep.
late.
That's like the Professor X movie thing, where we got to take him off the board for the third act because we don't know how to write him.
So like in the Saiyan saga, he's dead, and he's too late being resurrected. So it takes him longer than it should have to get back to Earth, so we can have the other characters try to fight.
This I think is kind of neat that she's making them all invisible, so the cops don't see him. Again, there's some creative stuff with her powers.
Yeah,
I just think we could have gotten here faster. And again, if you wanted this episode to have more bite to it, like have one of these kids get shot in the head. Like that could be a really shocking wake up call for 11. Like it feels like this episode should go darker than it does, but we don't kill any of them off because we're setting this up for a spinoff. It's something that could have given this episode just a bit more bite, a more edge. Like just
that's
having one
also
of them
what
just
I'm
get shot
confused.
and killed and
Like,
be like, fuck.
did they really think these characters would be interesting on their own show?
Yeah. Again, I think the cast is fine. Like they got good camaraderie together. I think the main girl's pretty good, but I don't need a whole spin-off. And like I said, this feels very like, Professor X Magneto having to part ways. It's very tragic, but it would be like if we did that and then never had Professor X and Magneto fight each other. It'd be like if you just had the setup in First Class and never did the Magneto stuff in the other movies. And then it's weird that 11 just never talks about this to anyone.
Yeah, it's like she forgot she exists. Oh my god, it's so slow and epic. No, why is she? If you're not going to do the spinoff, bring her back for season 3.
I get why they did it for 3, just because they wanted it to be a lot of 3s them trying to course correct and listen to criticisms of, okay, people hated that episode, we're not going to address it. People were angry that 2 was too much like 1, so we're going to make it very different. A lot of season 3 is course correction. So I get why we don't check in with these characters in season 3, and I'm fine with that. It's just weird that it's never mentioned.
11 looks like she's contemplating murder.
I remember liking the song choice at the end of this episode, or if it was just score, I don't remember.
I like that drum. We did it, Robert.
We did it. Like, is it the worst episode of the show? I mean, maybe. That doesn't mean I
I think
hate
it might still be.
but it's like a for me, it's like a 2 out of 5 episode. I don't think it's dreadful.
Nah, that's fine. The mind flare. Are you scared of the
Okay.
mind flare?
Yes, ready for things to get good again because I think if I did okay, ranking like literally every episode of the show would be impossible just because there's too many episodes of I like 2/3 of this, but that 1/3 really drags it down, or I like this subplot, this subplot kind of blows. Like there are so many in the middle. Like, what order would I put them in? This one's a top 10 episode for me. I would rather just do like my top 10 episodes of the show. This one probably makes
the mind flare. Okay. For some reason, I thought you talking about the last time. I was like, wait a minute.
No, kill the stream. Shut it off.
All right, no, this is season 2, episode 8, the mind flare. Are you at timestamp 0, Roberto?
I am.
In 3, 2, 1, play. And I remember the timer.
With that 11 episode, I've only ever watched it with other people, which helps. It makes it like, but if I'm ever rewatching the show just by myself, yeah, I'm probably skipping that. And hey, now we're gonna resolve that cliffhanger fight. And I think this has some of the best tension in the whole show. Like this is just a scary episode, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like, Hopper, get out of there. This is when you leave. It's 6 inches of glass. It ain't getting through. So this episode is very aliens. It's also very Jurassic Park, right? Like with the raptors.
I can see that.
And this is why Dustin shouldn't have turned on Dart. You know, they could have had a pet Demodog ally, and he turned his back on him, John. That's why you don't turn your back on your pets.
I do remember this episode, and you're right. This might be a top 10 episode for me too.
It's really good, and gets a lot of good carnage. Like, because I think of this as kind of a family-friendly-ish show, or like a good gateway horror show for kids. But there is some rough stuff.
Yeah.
Most 5-year-olds shouldn't be watching this, but you would have. And this is where the drama and dilemma with Will really kicks in of like, no, we have to make him go to sleep. You know, we can't trust him, and that's, you know, awful and scary.
I love that little attention to detail of Mike going like this. I've been that kid.
Yeah. It's just like he's gonna need some therapy. Maybe that's one of the far-fetched elements of seasons 3 and 4 is a lot of these kids really should be getting therapy by that point, but they're fine.
Yeah, I think
except for Max, because we do.
But yeah, I think reason for that. That is an issue with the show is Characters kind of pretend the last season didn't happen in the next season. I hope
Sometimes.
that was Steve really bad in all three of these. Or all four, I guess, at this point. Like in four, he should be a little bit of a mess. He was tortured.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And that's one thing. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Dustin in the final season because we get there when we get there. He's the one character though who doesn't go through a lot of serious personal trauma until
Until season
the end of
four.
four is the first time. That's the first time we really scar him directly and kind of
Yeah.
mess up. And I hope they explore that stuff well in five.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't had as much direct tragedy as a lot of these other characters have.
This is also Bob's last episode, right?
It is.
R.I.P. Bob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the third of the bees to be taken out.
Wait, Barbara.
Benny.
Who the hell is Benny?
No one. He's the diner guy who gets
Oh,
killed
yeah.
in like the first episode. Everyone forgets justice for Barb, but fuck Benny. Benny can rot for most people watching this show.
I mean, I don't care about Barb either.
So yeah, it's Benny, Barbara, it's Benny, Barb, Bob, Billy. We got 4 in a row.
Try saying that 5 times
Alexi
fast.
fucks up. Benny, Barb, Bob, Billy. It's like, hey, look, we're checking back in with other subplots again. I forgot about Billy.
I love this song. This is Metallica, The Four Horsemen.
Nice.
Yeah, their debut album is underrated. You know that he also have a Metallica song for him.
But I do like this scene a lot because Billy's dad is pretty awful, and unfortunately, there are a lot of parents like this. And I always appreciate when you just get these little insights, like, oh, this is why he is the way he is. Got it. It doesn't excuse his actions; it just makes him less one-dimensional. And as much as Billy is in the wrong, there is a degree of frustration you can understand because he has been watching Max this whole time. So now he's like, fuck off, I want to go on a date. But to Kareem Montgomery, like, he really sells the scene. Like, he is scared of his father. And we almost, like, he starts to break down crying. It feels very authentic without going too over the top.
Yeah, like why are you being such a dick? Just let your kid go out and have some fun.
And to be fair, his younger sister is missing. It makes sense that they would want him to go find her, but
I mean, even that was
they're both wrong.
she's 13. Like, let her go out and have some fun.
No, I just see it as they're both in the wrong, and the mom's just kind of stuck. But like I said, I think he really sells the scene. Like you could tell he's starting to cry, but it's very believable. He doesn't overdo it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's wrong for a teenager to want to go out and have fun. He shouldn't
No,
be responsible for
like
his
that.
sister all the time. And so, what if
No.
Max goes out with some friends? Like,
Hmm. Well, I mean, granted, this what that was more common in the '80s, but in 2024, like that doesn't fly. We don't let kids go out in the middle of the night anymore. Rightfully so, probably. Steve, you outed Dustin. You jerk. I still think with proper training and conditioning, they could have had a pet Demodog in Dart, and it would have been awesome. Dart is
Steve is just
amazing
like,
as
I
far
am
as
so done with these kids.
He's so good. He's got the bat still. This would be a good time for me to mention. I said on the last one that I got a Steve Funko Pop for my friend for Christmas, and here it is. So I'm holding on to this till December.
That's so cool.
It's the best look. Like he's got the glasses, he's got the bat
Yeah,
behind him. I mean, you can't tell, but so good.
that's
Although this
perfect.
wave is weird, it's great.
Mhm.
One of them is Hopper with the vines around him. Has
Why?
anyone thought this? Why would you make that? Like, I like Hopper. I'm not buying that one. That's in a landfill somewhere, I'm sure. But this looks awesome.
That does look
It
cool.
is great.
I don't really like pops just because like none of them look like the character. It's just really generic with the clothes.
Mm.
But that is cool.
They put a lot more detail into them than they used to. Like, look at Funko Pops from like 2012, 2013. They look so cheap and basic. Like, they're all the exact same mold, just with different paint. Like, I held off on starting to collect those for 6 or 7 years, and rightfully so, because they looked real cheap at the start.
Hmm.
And the ones that I get, like, are the ones with a bit more detail or specific.
Yeah, for sure. But no, this is gonna have the Dustin and or Steve and Billy fight too. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it should, because we're in the penultimate episode now. And even though it's his last one, I do like the Bob stuff a lot. And
Bob.
this is his moment to shine. This is just insane because I don't think Bob has ever seen a dead body before in his life. Like, so this has got to be a very surreal experience. I mean, maybe his parents died or had dead relatives, but not everyone does open casket funerals. I don't know if he's ever had to touch a corpse before.
Yeah, Jonathan. Maybe if you'd been here, you would know what's going on. Oh, this is a great moment.
Steve.
That's why.
I vote we all get out of Hawkins.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, up to this point, I think this is the episode with the most tension.
No, this is great.
You want to play a game, Bob?
Mhm.
Oh, and that's a direct Jurassic Park callback with following the pipes. Try to get to the power.
I'd like to see Sean Astin in more horror stuff. He's really good.
He is.
He's he's unfortunately in Cabin Fever 3.
Oh no.
That movie's not very good, if you can believe it.
I've yet to see a Cabin Fever. Should I just see the first and stop?
Um, no, I would say watch two. Two is interesting because it's Ty West, but he had his name removed.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Three
weird.
is
So
weird.
so
It,
Eli, the first one's the only one that Eli Roth does.
and the remake.
Oh, weird.
I don't know if he actually directs it, but like it's literally just using his script. They didn't rewrite it.
Weird.
No, that is a shot for shot remake.
That's bizarre. That is not a franchise I'm very familiar with. So do they stop at 3 and then do the remake?
Remake. Three has one of the most hilarious because you know it's about a flesh eating virus. So they have two
Mhm.
women that have been infected and like they're down to basically nothing, fighting each other and like ripping each other's guts out. It's so weird. But two is all right. It's the same premise just in his high school, and he gets some really nasty like he gets a blowjob from an infected girl, so that's where it starts. Ugh.
I love this. You did it, Dustin. You opened the gate. He didn't do anything. Now, this episode has some really good comedy relief without like deflating the tension.
Don't leave your
And the CGI on
gun.
the demo dogs, I know they didn't have to do that. It's a little silly, but he's not a gun guy. It's a tense situation. It's not the worst leap. And
Hopper, I
like
know
this
you're
little
a big, strong
self-sacrifice.
guy. You're not firing that M16 with one hand.
Arnold can do it.
Arnold, are you thinking about a Terminator or?
No, there's a shot of Predator where he's walking holding one,
Oh yeah.
which is like the worst way you could hold that gun. But who cares? Because it looks cool. And I like this stuff a lot with Paul Reiser's character, like watching the monitors and trying to guide them through. It's a good bit of self-sacrifice for him, even though he does survive.
Yeah, no, this is all really cool. If you can believe it. I like things about this season.
Like I said, I think it starts strong and ends strong.
So this is only tangentially related, but I was watching more Talkville today, and they had Schneider on there, who ranges from I kind of feel bad to you, dude. You're kind of full of yourself. Um, Talking about he was directing an episode, but he was shooting it at the same time as the episode where Clark and Lex are in that like kryptonite water for memories. And they had to take one of the actors. I think it was Tom. So he had to shoot it. You know how like we'll shoot some scenes where it's clearly they're on the same room, but you go back and forth. So he had to do that, and I got mad at him. Wouldn't let him do any more episodes because he did that. But like he didn't have access to both actors.
Yeah, it sounds stressful. It's insane. I mean, because people ask like, "Oh, why is old TV so dated?" or whatever. It's like because we shot 22 or more episodes a year, and they'd have a week to do it per episode. Like it's insane. And now we flip too far in the other direction where we take way too much time on way too little. Like no, there should be a balance.
Run, Bob, run!
You can do it. And like I said, I think CGI here holds up.
But also in that same sentence, he was like, "Oh, I didn't think they were doing me a favor letting me direct an episode. I thought I was doing them a favor." Come on, come on. Oh,
No.
it's fine. It's just a flesh wound. Oh God,
And,
I can't deal with the
and
teeth.
this, ugh, it's messed up. I do appreciate that the Demodogs are still bulletproof. You know, they're still a pretty significant threat.
R.I.P. Bob.
I like that we're able to do this without throwing Hopper under the bus because he does try to save him, but it's when he realizes that they're bulletproof and sees more coming is when he knows, oh, I can't do anything. You have to leave. It's a great tragic situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so just let's just get out of Hawkins. This is not our problem anymore. Let everyone die.
Everyone's together now.
This is the formula. You split everyone up and then bring them back together for the finale. Sorry, Bob.
If I have one complaint with season 3, I do kind of wish the split ups had been a little different. Like, yeah, I like Dustin and
Mhm.
Steve, but wouldn't it be cool if like Mike was with them or Will was with them?
And I do like the body horror stuff in season 3. I do like that we get away from the Demogorgon.
Yeah.
And then again, the thing people complain about is, oh, it's just Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Oh, it's just the thing. I'm like, come on. Like, you asked for something different, it does something a little different. It's not just the Demogorgon.
So I've something I've noticed. They pay it off. If Steve has a tell when he's upset, he goes like this, and he just did it there because he
Mm,
just realized they're together, and that's how he finds out.
yeah. Yeah. I do
Because
like though that we get to spend a minute mourning Bob.
that is a payoff from the Halloween party. Because when he's walking out, he does the same thing.
Mm. No, it's great when actors have little tells like
Oh yeah, he doesn't know.
that. Oh no, we're at Joyce's
Jesus.
house.
Oh, okay. But no, the thing about it, he still doesn't know that Eleven's gone.
Yep.
That's absurd.
It is, but also remember this is all like 2 to 3 days.
I don't believe she got from
This whole
Hawkins to
scene.
Chicago and back in 3 days.
Um, I don't
But I
know
also
where
don't
the
know
bus
where
ride is.
Hawkins is supposed. Hawkins. I don't know where Hawkins is in relative to any other Indiana city because they never mention it.
Well, remember she's still there when she has that vision of Hopper, like in the facility when the Demodogs are coming. So, yeah, like how long is that bus ride?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know where this is in relative to other cities in Indiana.
Mhm. Well, when
I'm
I'm a
gonna
kid
find
growing
out.
up, my family though growing up, like my dad's hardcore when it comes to like cross country like road trips. Like uh we could go from like California to Virginia in like 3 or 4 days. Like we did not we usually drove instead of taking a plane or something.
Okay, so it's 80 miles outside of Indy.
Oh, okay, that's not much.
Well, Indy's in the middle. That still doesn't tell me where it is, but at least you have something.
I like this scene a lot. This is one of the things that made season one really special or really connect with people is how these kids use Dungeons and Dragons to rationalize stuff and explain stuff. And this kind of, I like that we're getting back to that, where the show doesn't literally make Dungeons and Dragons part of the Hawkins lore or part of the Demogorgon upside down lore. It's just how the kids explain things or make
Mm-hmm.
sense of stuff. It's a little silly that by season 4 we still have so many equivalencies, but it's fine. Again, it's part of what gives the show its charm. And I like that Hopper's like, oh, Jesus Christ, it's a kid's game. And Dustin's like, it's a manual. It's a metaphor.
No, it's an
Like
analogy.
an analogy. This is great.
Oh, Steve.
Hopper's reactions are the best in scenes like this. This is absurd. We are all going to die. That's great. That's really great. Jesus. This is the best. I'll use fireballs to. Yeah, we don't have that. It's just a game. I wish we got more uh, Dustin and Hopper scenes because they have good banter with each other.
Yeah.
It's just a game.
It's kind of a shame he's always stuck with Joyce.
Hmm. Or in Russia.
Bullshit.
Worthshed. And this is very kind of reminiscent of season 1 with 11 when they have to like do the makeshift uh like bath or whatever. What's it called? They had a name for it.
Okay, Robert, I'm just going to apologize in advance, but I have to complain one more time.
Okay. Are
Hold
we at
on.
that scene?
We're at that scene.
And Nancy's giving him a compliment.
That's not what I'm going to complain about. Oh, I guess we're going to cut back.
Like I said, I'm final. We'll wrap up our thoughts on the Jonathan Nancy subplot with this episode. But for me, I get just final addendum to that is yeah, we should have either broken up Nancy and Steve properly before doing that adventure with Nancy and Jonathan, or this should be when they break up, when Steve puts together what has to happen. Like we should have Steve break up with Nancy if you want to give her a consequence that she can't have both of them and that Steve's the one who ends it. That would have been stronger than what we.
Yeah.
And Dustin's great in this scene when it's a very humble moment for him when he realizes that Max just isn't into him, and he tells Lucas like, "Nah, there's something between you two, and I'm gonna stop trying." Like it's a really sad moment, but a really good one. Shows a lot of maturity for his character. And like I said, I like this setup. It's what I was trying to think of was the sensory deprivation tank or whatever.
No, yeah, this is cool.
Uh, and it's clever. It's a clever plan of okay, when they figure out what the mind flayer's weakness is, right? Like it's in Will. The problem is it only knows and sees what Will knows, so they have to make it not know where it is. Like that's really clever.
I do think this show ends with Will dying. It ends where it began.
I hope. I really hope not. Especially if they kill Jonathan. I want Will to have an ending.
Yeah.
You can't kill both of Joyce's kids.
Oh, but you can.
Also, what you were just saying about it ending where it begins, do we think we give 11 another self-sacrifice and kill her for real at the show? Or do you think the show doesn't kill 11?
I think it's possible we kill her, but then there'll be like, oh, maybe she's still out there somewhere.
That would be annoying, but it's possible. I don't know. I think most of the kids are safe. Like, I don't think we're gonna get a high body count, but like, with Joyce and Hopper, I feel like you either kill one of them or you kill both. Or sorry, I feel like they both live or they both die. It's gonna be
Mhm.
one or the other. Because we've already had Joyce lose Hopper. We've already gone through that, and then she gets him back. I don't think they just flip that or do that
I
again.
could see them being taken out because at the end of the day, this is about the kids and the
It's
younger
about the next
adults.
generation. Yeah.
The kids are old enough now that they can deal with whatever.
And I don't think they're gonna kill Steve. He's too popular. And if they were gonna do that, I think they would have done that.
People would riot.
They would.
Shut up.
Like I said, if I was plotting out season 5, I would kill Jonathan somewhere in the first half of the season just to show that the stakes are high and that we finally took out a season 1 character, and then like by the end we might lose.
My biggest worry is they're not going to have the
how I
balls to do anything like daring.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give us a trailer. I need to see what we're looking at.
And Noah Schnapp's really good in these scenes. Like, this is heavy, intense stuff for a kid to be doing.
No, he's great. Which is why it's a shame that this is the last time he's important to the show.
Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, one of Winona Ryder's best scenes.
I forgot she was in Star Trek 09.
She was in Star Trek 09. She's Spock's mom.
You're Spock's mom.
Yay. Yeah, in the mid 2000s, Winona Ryder has a weird career just because she had some controversies, she had some personal issues, so she just kind of got weird roles like that. And then this is her big comeback.
Yep. No, because I remember when this show was announced, I was like, "Oh, Winona Ryder's in." I haven't heard that name in forever. Because obviously, I'm a big Edward Scissorhands fan.
And now she's back in Beetlejuice 2
on the PS2. You know what my biggest problem with that movie is, just on a concept? There is not a world where I believe this woman gave birth to Jenna Ortega.
It depends on who the father is. I don't think that's an issue at all.
I don't know. I Jenna Ortega just reads a stunt casting.
Well, yeah, like it's obvious casting, it's because she's Wednesday, but no, like especially for like what Winona Ryder is in the first Beetlejuice movie, they're going for that vibe, and Jenna Ortega is the actress to get for that.
Yeah. I just wouldn't have had them related.
I don't know. Like, again, it just depends on who the father is, but I could buy it.
I mean, $10 says they will not address that.
Probably not.
What if the father is from Beetlejuice? I still need to see that movie, Heathers.
Me too.
Oh, she's in a movie called Girl Interrupted, but directed by James Mangold.
Oh. And this is a great Mike scene. Talking about like when him and Will became best friends. This is really good stuff.
Why do they have the same haircut? Yeah. It looks like they both have the bowl cut. It's really funny.
Yeah, it's authentic to the time. Yeah, we let Mike's hair evolve over time. We keep giving Will that stupid bowl cut, and the justification is, well, Joyce cuts his hair. It's like Jonathan's hair looks better. That's not an excuse.
Yeah, except for in season 4 where he lets it grow out and it looks really dumb.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. All I know about Stranger Things season 5 is that they let Will have a different haircut, and thank God. Thank God we're finally there.
It gets really bad in 4. It does not fit him anymore.
Mm-hmm. It works in 3 because he's still in that really awkward phase and he's still adjusting. Do you like the Morse code payoff, or do you find it silly?
Fine.
That Will would know Morse code.
Fine, they're radio geeks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, weird. I forgot there was such a gap between Steve and Nancy scenes. I like
Because
that they
there's
bring
more
this
important
back.
stuff going on. Yeah, this is a good callback. Like I said, this episode gets a lot done.
Yeah. No, this is all great. I mean, at this point, you should be able to figure out what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Close gat. What is a gat?
Uh oh.
And I like that the phone is what tips it off. And it's consistent, like the mind flayer has been and will in this house before. So, it makes sense. Yeah, knock him out. Just hit him in the head with a mallet.
That is a little convenient here. Just here's a random phone ringing.
No, I think it works.
Like Steve said, it could be any phone in the country or the state.
But it's the mind flayer, and it's been in will. Like again, it's been here before. It gets heard
Oh,
that phone.
yeah. That's true.
And I mean, like process of elimination. It's like at some point the mind flayer would have figured out, like, oh, maybe I should send the Nimodogs to Will's house. Like that was gonna happen at some.
Yeah. So this thing with Nancy and guns will become absurd by season 4, where she has guns in her bedroom.
It's the 80s.
How does she get this past her parents? How did she get approved to buy one? How did she get the money for it?
I buy her having a gun. That's pretty plausible.
Yeah, but she has guns, plural.
Also, as we see, like her parents are very oblivious. They're not going through her stuff, trying to figure out what's going on in her personal life. Steve's got the bat again.
Look, because that slingshot ain't gonna do shit, my man.
It's his signature weapon. He's gonna use it.
Oh yeah, this is the Badass 11 entrance.
Woo. The gang's all back together. Yeah, we haven't.
I didn't need the slow mo.
No, they drag it out too long. But we didn't even get the Steve and Nancy scene you hate.
Yeah, I shocked us. I thought it was right there.
So yeah, still a top 10 episode for me.
Why was Nancy like shocked? Does she even know this girl?
Yeah, she saw 11.
I mean, she saw her, but like,
That's not something you forget about.
oh, shut up, Mike.
What? Although again, Mike and Nancy, like for being siblings, like they have really funny banter sometimes. I wish we gave them more scenes together. Sometimes I forget that Mike and Nancy are siblings because they hardly ever have screen time together, and there are some potentially interesting conversations you could have that
So,
I kind of wish we got.
so the main thing that I really reminds me of that they're siblings is they are consistent with both of them have trouble expressing their feelings.
Right.
Because the whole thing with season 4 with Mike and 11 is that he can't say I love you, which is the same issue that Nancy's having this season with Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Except that season we don't have a mouthpiece to say, well, she doesn't really love him, or he doesn't really love her.
But one more episode to go.
Yeah, and then we're gonna do all of season 3. Right?
Woo.
Episode 9, The Gate, which is the name of an 80s horror film.
I was about to bring that up. Have you seen it?
A long time ago. It's pretty good from what I remember.
All right.
Now watch, we'll review it at some point. I'll be like, this was terrible. What was I smoking?
Do you think that title is a callback or just a coincidence?
That's
Given that
gotta
it
be.
is an 80s movie.
It's got to be a callback. All right, this is season 2, episode 9, The Gate.
Woo.
Are you ready, Robert?
I'm ready.
I said, are you ready? In 3, 2, 1, play.
The gang's all back together. A lot of people hated that we waited till the finale to reunite 11 and Mike. I think that's fine. I just wish we gave 11 better stuff in the middle.
It's fine. I think the problem for me is this stuff is written like they're older than they are.
They've also gone through some very extreme circumstances that have I don't know.
Hopper. What are you doing,
Uh,
Hopper?
I love this scene with Hopper and Mike. And I mean, it makes sense that of everyone in that room, Mike's going to be the one who freaks out the most about this.
That's a good scene. I want to see these two interact more, except not the way that they do in season 3.
Some of that stuff's funny. I hope we're past all that for the final season. I'd like to see these characters get along more. And again, it tracks for me. Like Lucas and Dustin, they're excited to see her. They're happy to see her. But like Mike and 11 had a lot more alone time. Like they were really attached. So this all tracks. So yeah, we haven't even talked about the payoff with Dustin's teeth. Like that's great. Check out these pearls. And even though I have a lot of issues with how they handle some of the romance stuff with them in 3, I'm at least glad we didn't do a stupid love triangle thing with Mike, 11, and Max. Like, I'm glad we didn't do that.
No, instead we've got Mike, 11, and Will.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
And I know I've seen a lot of people online that that's what they want to end up happening is 11 either dying or going off on her own, so that those two can end up together.
That's not happening. That's
Yeah, there's no
definitely not
way.
happening.
Although I would kind of applaud it just because that would finally have the show would have some balls to do something like that.
Yeah, something controversial. And the thing with the 11 and Mike stuff, the reason why most of it works for me is like it's heightened emotions. They're kids, like fuck, like I've never met a kid who can move things with their mind. That would be freaking awesome. And yeah, I might become a bit obsessed with them because that's really cool. It's like so their love story, even though it's very basic and they do some silly cliche stuff with it, like it's still most of it tracks okay for me. Like what a lot of people get wrong about stuff like Romeo and Juliet is the point of that story isn't that, oh, these two, like their love is real and better than any love. Like it's like, no, these are teenagers with heightened emotions in a heightened extreme situation, and that's why they do what they end up doing. Are those two characters still together in 20 years if it works out? I don't know, but that's not the point of the story. And that's the same with Mike and 11. It's like these are extreme emotions and in extreme circumstances at a young age. But if the show ends with an epilogue time jump where like Mike and 11 are married or whatever, like that's a bit much. They don't need to do that. Like I don't buy that they're still going to be a couple forever. They could just be friends. Like that's fine.
Yeah, I don't need him bad mouthing Max because 11's missing.
He is projecting. Oh, look, here's setting up your favorite subplot.
I legitimately forgot what we were doing for a second. I was like, wait a minute, this is not where we left off.
With
Is this different
Mrs.
actress?
Wheeler.
She looks different.
No, it's the same actress.
That's crazy.
Yeah, her look changes a lot season to season.
Makeup is just magic. Like that's the only explanation I have.
And this scene is going for comedy. Like it's fine.
It's really weird.
It is weird. It only works for me if Billy is an older character. It's creepy because we've established that he's in high school. If he's in his 20s, this is better.
Although, funnily enough, this movie is kind of ahead of its time because we've had two of these kind of movies this year. The Anne Hathaway one.
That's true.
And then Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron just made one.
They did?
Yeah, it's a Netflix rom com.
All right.
He plays. It's so the story of that one because it's hilarious, like Hallmark level writing. Is so the main character's boss is played by Zac Efron, who falls for her mother, Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, we'll do a watch party on that next.
No.
Yeah. And like again, I get what they're going for. Like, she's a middle-aged, bored housewife. Her husband kind of sucks. Like, of course, she'd be tempted in a situation. It's just going for comedy. I don't need this to kick off a whole subplot.
I also don't mind it here because she's just being a bit of a perv. It's season 3 where it's like, okay. Where like she's going to the pool just to see him.
Mm-hmm. And again, the awkwardness is obviously we as viewers are mostly aware that this guy's in his mid-20s. He is an adult. But then in the context of the show, it's like, how old is he supposed to be? Is he 17? Is he 19? Like, I don't know how old he's supposed to be.
Well, he's clearly a senior.
Yeah.
Because both him and Steve are not in school next season.
Yeah. That's just my whole point on that. It's like him being in high school is what makes it creepy. And I feel like to them it's not creepy because we don't even like talk about that in season 3. And obviously he's out of high school by that point, but still.
Okay, I've never had this thought here before, and you're going to disagree, and that's fine. I would
Okay.
have been okay if this is where we kill Will.
It would have. It could have tanked the show for me. I might have. I think that's too cynical for the show, and it's too much of season one is about getting him back, and if you're gonna undo that, it kind of ruins everything.
Okay, but like on the
And
flip side, and some of this is, after the fact. What's the point of keeping him alive? He doesn't do anything in the next two seasons.
right, though, again, there is some stuff with him in season three that I really like. The problem is less Will specifically, and more we have 200 characters.
Which is why I say maybe you should have killed Will here. Like
I'm glad they didn't.
it wouldn't have undone the happy ending of season one to me, but it would have shown like you can't just escape from the upside down. Like there are consequences to being there.
This kid's had enough trauma. It
No.
also just would have it would have completely changed the tone of this finale. I like how triumphant this finale.
Okay, here it is.
Yeah, this is when Steve tells the audience Nancy should be with Jonathan. This is where
It's worse than
he
that.
gives pin.
I may be a pretty shitty boyfriend. How? What did he do that was shitty?
He left her at a party drunk. That was pretty shitty. And then he did color bullshit later. Like he did a couple shitty things.
I don't know. This scene plays it like it's all on him, and I that bothers me.
That's fair. Again, I think you could have flipped this because what they're thinking is, well, this is showing Steve's humility. Like this is not trying to throw Steve under the bus. It's trying to show character growth and humility. But from our perspective, it's like, no, if it's more of just a breakup scene, like, hey, I still love you, but we're done. Like you've decided that this is working, so we're done. They would think, oh, well, that makes Steve look too unlikable, and I would disagree.
But my problem is it's consistent. All this season, next season, and season 4 all act like he was the bad guy until she broke his heart.
Like I said, he did a few pretty shitty things.
He did what?
He did 2. We'll say 2.
But even then, with the one that I will agree with you on, it's her own fault for acting like a child and getting wasted.
Yeah, again, they're teenagers, and it's like, that's.
But the problem is
advice.
But the problem is that she only acts like that when the script needs her to. The rest of the time, she acts like an adult.
Sometimes, and also, again, I'm not a big fan of Nancy. Yeah, she makes a lot of mistakes, and characters should be allowed to make mistakes, but she's just never been one of my favorite characters.
The good old MTV punk. No.
I do like this exchange a lot. I think they play it well. Like I'm not mad kid. I think that's a good line. I like that we at least talk about this, that she saw her mother. And he's like, a man's. Oh God. This only works because it's the 80s, though. Like people did this shit all the time. Yeah, and this is when Hopper, what he's trying to say is, I shouldn't have left you and gotten lost in a upside down under a pumpkin patch. That really took me out of commission for a day and a half.
It's just really funny how wrapped up you are on that.
I think that's the dumbest part of this.
No, we each have our thing. It's great. And like with me, I don't even care about Nancy that much. What pisses me off is I think it's like I said, it's throwing Steve under the bus. They act like
And
he was
again,
the best.
I don't think. And again, I don't think they're trying to throw Steven under the bus. What they're trying to do is show his humility and show his growth, because that's why
But
we love Steve.
I'm sorry,
Because he has
that's
an arc.
not humility. Your girlfriend cheats on you. You don't just say, "Oh, good, okay, it's okay. Go be with him."
Yeah, I still have issues with how they handle that. I've made that pretty clear.
Can we just watch season 4? At least that has good stuff.
I thought 3 was your favorite.
It is. It's also got good stuff. And you get more of that Steve and Nancy dynamic that like is what I liked in the first season.
Mhm.
Because every character in the show isn't good until they work with Steve. That's why Robin starts out with a bang.
That's true.
And I arguably like her more in 3 than I do 4.
I might agree with that.
I like her in 4. She gets lost in the shuffle in some places.
Yes, but I mean, like I said, Hopper's one of my favorite characters, and we rarely get
You poor
Hopper
bastard.
stuff. He's great.
No, I just mean that whole Russian plot. So bad. No, I really like. I would really like to see them. Actually, funnily enough, my headcanon for Steve is that he does end up becoming the next Hopper.
That'd be cool.
Sheriff of Hawkins and all that.
Like I said, I'm 50-50. Either this show ends with Hopper and Joyce getting married, or they both die. I think it's going to be one or the other. When I say
what
married,
if they die and then get married?
They could do that.
That's unrealistic. If I ran away, I'd be dead.
Yeah, but she has mind powers.
He can still shoot her.
That's not.
But no, now that I think about it, I think it is more likely if any of the kids are on the chopping block, it might be 11.
Yeah.
Although, you're probably going to disagree with this. We'll get to it season 3 or 4. I don't think it was a mistake to not kill Max.
It would have pissed me off if they did.
Okay, but I mean, come on. 11 being a Deus Ex Machina that can resurrect the dead.
She jump starts her heart. It's not that complicated.
Okay, but then all through season 5, I'm going to be asking, why isn't she doing that to anyone that dies?
Well, okay. This should be a conversation we save for later. No, the idea is Max is brain dead because Vecna has her. Like, she is, like, 11 just jump starts her heart, which is why she's in a coma. But Vecna has Max's soul, essentially. And I'm sure a lot of season 5 is going to be trying to get Max back. That's what's going on.
Okay. Well, later. We're finally at the stuff that I like in this episode.
So, now this, we just saw them put the dead Demodog in the freezer for, like, science or whatever. Never mentioned again. Completely dropped. Whoops. Why doesn't that come up in season 3?
I kind of wish they put C with the rest of these kids in season 3. That's a no.
His comedic timing is so great. I love that, like, his calling is being a babysitter, but he's also kind of bad at it, and that's what makes him charming. Like, he can't control these kids.
No, but at the same time, what he is good at is actually just being there for him, for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting in a way of it's kind of ending that cycle of abuse. Like in one way or another, they all have kind of shitty home lives, and he's working to end that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
There's subtext there that I don't think the writers are smart enough to either understand or do anything with, but it's there.
this this is one of my favorite scenes in the this is like a top tier Steve scene for me when he just tells off Billy and then we look back and see the kids looking at the window. It's so good. My 13-year-old goes sister goes missing. And then she's here with you. And you lied to me? Steve's a good liar. He sells this, but the kids are gonna fuck it up.
Goddamn kids.
Then who is that? Did he see us? Oh shit. The kids are 100% responsible for Steve getting beat up.
Yep.
And as extreme as Billy is in the situation, and obviously a bad guy, I buy this escalation because his 13-year-old sister went missing. He's at this weird guy's. She's with this weird guy Steve, and Steve just lied about it. Yeah, that's kind of sketchy from Billy's point of view. To be fair, but then when he attacks Lucas, that's when he goes too far. Yeah, Steve gets a hit in.
I I kind of think Steve should have won this fight for the subtext of him overcoming his past.
I think it's fine. Well, but we also give Max a big moment. Again, I just buy that Steve loses this fight. Like I said, you just look at these two actors. Billy's winning this fight.
Crappy.
Also, if you have Steve win this fight, then we don't get one of my other favorite Steve scenes, so I'm fine with it.
Or oh, that you want to fight?
No, we'll get to it. And this is a good
Oh,
payoff with the drug. Because what this does end with is Max standing up to Billy and ending like the abusive side of their relationship. So it's good for Max.
yeah, but my boy just exists to get beat up. Apparently,
They massacred my boy. He wins a fight in season 3.
okay, but like that's barely even a fight. Yeah,
And unfortunately, I think this is the last we see of the nail bat. Makes me sad.
yeah,
But I also think, even though he's humiliated and very confused, I do think I think Billy does gain some respect for Max. Because in season 3, he just leaves her alone. Like, they just don't talk to each other. But I think there is a degree of respect he gets for Max from this situation.
yeah.
After this experience.
Okay, so I will meet you in the middle because the car scene, which is what I assume you're talking about, also has one of my favorite little moments that not a lot of people talk about.
Hey, buddy. So good.
But I don't know. He could have still won that fight and then but still gotten beaten up to the point where he like falls unconscious. He could have done that. I think the bigger problem is just that we drop that like Steve and Billy comparison after this season.
We do.
which is why maybe Billy should have stuck around and like continued to be that foil. Because
Uh,
ideally, the foil would then become Jonathan, but they don't share any screen time together for the next two
hmm.
seasons.
I don't know. I like the Billy stuff a lot in season 3, and I like where it ends. But this is our big exorcism sequence. We got to do an exorcism to
Of Emily
save
Rose.
Will. Hmm. And then again, it's funny when this is criticized for being derivative of The Exorcist, and it's like, do you realize how many exorcism movies we've made? There's like 200 of them. Why is it a problem when
That's
this show does it?
that's lowballing. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention in the Saw commentary though is what's cool with Jigsaw in that is when you down somebody, you can actually put the reverse bear trap on them, and they have to go around the map finding a thing that dislodges it, and it may or may not dislodge it.
Oh, use Dead by Daylight
Yeah,
or the game? Yeah, yeah. No, I've played that stuff on Dead by Daylight. It's really cool.
she was my main
And
there for a bit. I suck at killer though.
yeah, I'm usually Michael Myers. Like when I do plays killer,
The
that's
only
my
time I
go-to.
so I'm banned from playing Michael Myers because I would just play that in private sessions with my friends. But in private lobbies, all of the perks are unlocked. I could get like immediate infinite tier 3 and just kill everyone one shot.
Oh, here we are.
Yeah, so I like this,
Let's see.
but there's a little moment here.
Hey, buddy.
Well, maybe we missed it. But when he sees Mike, he thinks it's Nancy.
He's just said that.
I like that little moment.
That's a good touch.
He misses Nancy.
What's going on? I love the way that Dustin is talking, like so comforting to him. He's really sincere.
And then we paid this off in season 4, where Max is like, I can drive. And he's like, no.
No. And Steve's freak out here is so good. Now we do the thing. We did it twice this season. When someone just shouts to turn and they just do this. It's like, no, slow down.
I think
Back
I
up
think what you're missing is that Lucas just screamed like a little girl.
He did. Leave him alone. He's going through puberty. It's fine. And like I said, I'm glad we save Will because if they don't, like, then this season ends on a completely different note.
I don't think it's a bad thing. Get a little darker.
And we just killed Bob.
Well, we're only allowed to kill one character per season.
Yeah. I don't know. But again, I think you just want this to be a more nihilistic show than I do. At the end of the day, I see this like, yeah, there's horror elements, but I also see this as kind of a feel good or bittersweet show. Like, I don't need it to go that nihilistic.
See, I don't think these first 2 seasons are that feel good. Season 3 is where it really starts to embrace that like feel good image.
Cheesy. I just think when you dedicate so much of a show to finding someone and then you kill them off, it makes a lot of it feel like a waste of time.
Have you seen The Walking Dead? No, and that's one of the other thing is I like that he takes this so seriously because he promised Nancy specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, say it with me, those characters make each other better.
We get it. You think it's the greatest love story that's ever been told.
Okay, that's an over. I don't know what the greatest love story ever told is. Probably Twilight. Let's be real.
And I really like this Hopper 11 action sequence team up.
Yes, tell the girl with psychic powers to stay there while you have a gun that you know doesn't work.
I think that's just parental instinct.
Oh my god.
Still, my contract isn't over yet. I'm
How
not
does he
leaving this show.
how does he survive this? Was he
So
and
I think wait. I
sorry.
think the idea is he's attacked, but when he's attacked is when the Demodogs are called away. Like
Okay,
they
but
wouldn't
like
just keep him.
those are severe wounds.
Well, yeah, but he'll still be injured later. I mean, remember this has only been in the span of a couple hours.
Yeah, how long does it
You'd be
take for him to bleed out?
you'd be shocked what the human body is capable of withstanding.
I don't know, Robert. At some point, it's just plot armor because we need them later.
I think like this just happened. It's fine, dude. There are people who have survived like 50 stab wounds. Like it's possible.
Remember when they actually took precautions for the upside down?
Mm-hmm. This scene's great. I love this freak out from Dustin. Shit.
Yeah.
Look on his face. I'm okay. Wait.
This is a set, right? Like this isn't green screen.
Yeah, some of it's a set.
Okay. Because when they first walked in, I had a little uncanny green screen with it.
The definitely depends on the shot. It's a probably a thing where I'm sure they built just like a couple tunnels and then would
And
just reverse and just go in a circle, like they done in Star Wars. And like I said, this stuff's really brutal. Like it's really effective.
and that's what you were saying with nihil. I don't think the show to be nihilistic, but it is realistic that at some point you do have to make the hard decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just don't think they need to go here, at least not yet.
But I think my overall problem is that I can't separate from what comes later. They're not willing to
Right.
do anything with that. This is the first place that you could have done it, and arguably maybe should have, since he's not going to contribute anything to the next two seasons.
I still don't agree because there's still a lot of Will stuff in season 3 I really like that we would have lost. It's just season 4 where they really let me down. And again, there's a couple of good scenes in season 4. Like there's one really good scene with him and Jonathan. It's just I'm ready for them to pick it up.
But on the other side of that, if you do go to the difficult choice, Now Jonathan has something else to do. Joyce has something else to do. All of the party have like dramatic meat to chew into.
But then that's also just like a dour cloud that hangs over these characters for the rest of the show, and then you don't get the fun stuff in 3. The stuff with Steve and Dustin doesn't work in 3 if Dustin's best friend just died. Like that stuff doesn't work. I also like agree that the show doesn't go as far as that the show does play it too safe overall. I'm not disagreeing with you there, but in this particular instance, I'm glad they didn't go there. Again, they still go really far with it. Like it's really brutal and pretty hard to watch. And I like the solution.
But like, at what point are we supposed to finally make these threats real? Because part of the problem going into season 5 is I don't believe that any of these characters are in danger. They survive everything with no loss or consequences.
Yeah, but no, the start of season 3 does handle the Will stuff well. We just kind of forget about it. And again, like, the thing we've always known about this creature is it likes it cold. We're paying that off. They use fire to get it out of Will. Like, it's not a Deus Ex Machina. It's not cheap. It feels natural.
I mean, it's a little cheap as extreme as they're playing this. That he is not even if he's not dead, that like he is like not 6 inches from death.
Now, the Mind Flayer stuff is a little confusing when we get to 3. It feels like 3 kind of retcons what's going on with this ending, at least a little bit. Also, since we're at the very end of the season, I guess this is a good time to get into the discussion about the Mind Flayer. Do you remember the fan theory that the Mind Flayer was going to be like number 1, like the first one with powers and like,
no, because I was not engaged. I was not engaged in with the fandom until season 4, and that was after it already came out.
Okay, because I was kind of buying that theory for a while, and then what's funny is we kind of do that, except it's with Vecna. We end up creating a new character, and then to me, we kind of retcon what the Mind Flayer is, because in the context of the season, it seems like it's its own entity, and then in season 4, we established, oh, it's just a puppet of Vecna.
That's fine. That's traditional storytelling. You have a new big bad, and then when you introduce the next big bad, oh, the previous one was just working for them.
Yeah. Well, the Mind Flayer is our big bad of season 2 and 3. I just feel like we do a little running with like what it is.
Yeah, we definitely do. But I'm just fine with that because I've seen that.
I like the color in the sequence a lot.
Yeah. I will take that over this like hard to see blue.
Right. Like I said, I like the sequence with 11 and Hopper a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is a little confusing because now the Mind Flayer is back in the Upside Down. And then in season
I don't
Oh,
think it
go
was
on.
ever outside of the Upside Down.
Well, it was in Will.
Yeah, but I don't think it was physically in Will. It's just like an essence was in him.
Okay, I can buy that. That kind of tracks. But then this season is going to end looking like the Mind Flayer is trapped in the Upside Down again. And then in season 3, they say, well, no, part of him was actually out in the world. And like several months later, it starts doing stuff. Like it feels a little retcon. But look, it's
No,
Dark.
because there's a cliffhanger shot.
Yeah, but isn't the cliffhanger shot the Mind Flayer in the Upside Down?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, we'll get to it. But look, it's Dart, our adorable Demodog. Missed opportunity. Dart could have been our pet sidekick for the rest of the show. He
No,
could have been
I'm good.
Dustin Scobastus. Did you even get the reference? I just hey, who let the Canadian here?
We've come for your daughter, Chip.
That's in the commentary now.
Yeah, killed that moment. You probably did. You even get the reference I just made?
No, I didn't hear what you said.
I said that the Demodog could have been Dustin's Bobastus for the show.
I don't know who that is.
Ozymandias' pet.
Oh, okay.
And then you could get great stuff like, oh no, Dustin, the Reds are opening the Upside Down. What are we gonna do? I'd like to see a talking Demodog on the show.
You just want to be a Saturday morning cartoon.
Are you surprised they haven't made a Stranger Things like animated spinoff yet? With how much this is riffing on 80s stuff.
Yes, especially with all the work in animation Netflix has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But don't worry,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's one of the like 600 spin-offs they'll pump out.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm glad it's just this show. Like, I'm fine that we haven't had any spin-offs yet. I'm just saying it's weird because the amount of merchandise the show has produced is insane. So many books, comics, toys. Like, the amount of merchandise this show has spawned is insane.
I'm just saying, Robert, I'm not for the spin-offs, but if they announce a Steve show, I'll watch it.
The only thing that would bum me about that is I just don't want Joe Keery stuck playing the. Like, I want to get him to get other cool things. You know, a lot of people.
I really wish he'd been Johnny Storm.
Joe Keery, or not Joe Keery. Fuck.
So you agree with me?
Joseph Quinn. No, Joseph Quinn's a good pick, and a lot of people were really mad about what happened to Eddie, but it's like Joseph Quinn's doing well. He's a good actor.
No, I'm not against it.
Joe Keery, there are other roles for him. I would rather DC get him than Marvel.
Oh, the Life of Chuck's letterbox page is up. I want to see it. Oh, reactions from Tiff are coming in, and it's good.
Oh, cool. Interesting. Do we have a date for that? Like, do we know when it's getting a wide release?
Do you know how much I'd freak out if it just hit Voodoo tomorrow? It looks like we do not. It premiered yesterday at the Toronto Film Festival.
Okay, gotcha. Like I said, this goes on a little too long, but it's a good climax. It's just
I don't know.
Really,
70% of this is just her going.
Yeah, it's the music. The music does a lot, and the visuals are good. And I like Hopper's reaction. She gets to float in the air. That's kind of cool. And again, the CGI is good. The CGI isn't it. Like, imagine them trying to do this stuff with the Smallville budget 20 years ago, it would have looked so terrible.
I mean, I saw the last few seasons of Smallville.
But this is the first time we get to see Hopper really respect her and admire her. Like, he really looks like he's proud of her, which I really appreciate. No, all the dogs are dying. Dart dying's a pretty big consequence. That's really sad.
I don't care.
He lost his pet. And like I said, season 3 establishes that some of the mind flayers stayed in the world, and then, which is fine because we do some cool stuff with it. That's just visually, that doesn't look like that's what happened here. It looked like the whole thing is in the Upside Down.
There was something that sets that up. I can't remember what the scene is. So earlier you said that it's eventually the payoff for Jonathan and Nancy is them shutting down that base.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it have been the fact that everyone in the base is dead?
The government would have just brought more people in, like they did with Matthew Modine. Now this is a public scandal.
I just don't have enough information to say that that's true. For all I know, the government just would have cut their losses anyway.
And like I said, I like that they're able to give Barb's parents closure. And again, this does change the status quo a bit. This is not the end of season 1 where Hopper has this deal, like there's still that shadow organization. Like, no, they're shut down for the time being. So I do appreciate the status quo change. And that Paul Reiser's character is around. And again, I get your point about plot armor, but we keep him around for a reason. He helps work up this identity for 11 and making this an official adoption. Like, this stuff's all really, again, a good status quo change. Like, she's not a secret anymore. Like, at least her powers are, but now she gets to be kind of a normal kid and be adopted by him. Like, this is good stuff.
This is very there's a Back to the Future reference.
I like this epilogue a lot.
That looks very Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm. The Snowball of 84.
I like this epilogue, but I feel really bad for Will and Dustin.
Yeah. And again, structurally, it's very similar to season 1. We end again with a Christmas epilogue. I was really hoping we'd get a whole just winter season, but I don't know if we're going to do that for the final season. Because the first 2 seasons are primarily fall, season 3 is summer, season 4 is spring, and
just from that one screenshot that we've seen, this one screen cap we've seen, that ain't happening.
Yeah,
I think I sent you that.
Yeah, I think you did. And then earlier you were talking about the kids' ages. Like, how much of a time skip do you think we do? 2 years?
If they're smart,
5 years?
if they're smart, at least 5 years. Just skip over high school for the kids.
Maybe 3 would be enough. I'm sure what they want to do, that's the obvious thing to do, would be ending with them graduating. Like that's the obvious place to go.
Yeah,
So that would be about a 3-year jump.
4.
Well, I mean, they're at the end of their freshman year in season 3.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So yeah, it would be 3.
So a 3-year jump would put them at the end of their senior
I
year.
guess that would fit thematically with. Well, it wouldn't fit thematically because the theme of this isn't high school is hell.
Right, like it's not a high school show, really. But this payoff with Dustin is so good. With the Farrah Fawcett
I
hair.
love this little moment with Steve that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Because as usual, he gets hung out to dry at the end of these seasons.
Like a lion. Don't do that.
Okay, but I do have a question just because I never had this as a kid.
Okay.
Do they throw like dance parties for I don't know however old they are?
Yeah. I went to one when I was 13.
I never went to one. Love that little moment. And we won't pay it off for 2 seasons.
I really love the way we pay this off. Like these kids are just the worst. You can kill like most of the kids in this school and I'm fine. They are awful. We had the Stephen King bullies in season 1. We had the kids bullying Will for being zombie boy. This school sucks. Let Vecna just wipe them all out. But I do like that with Dustin, like this doesn't immediately work out. There's no bird nesting in here. Like, I buy that they're making fun of him.
R.I.P. Dustin.
And like I said, I like the Lucas and Max pairing. We just don't rarely have anything interesting to do with it.
My problem is, yeah, like I don't like them in season 3, and then I don't like Lucas in 4.
Hey, look! A kid was nice to Will for once. It's a nice little win for Will.
Well, but it's also weird. She walks up and is like, "Hey, zombie boy, want to dance?"
I buy that. Kids are weird. And I like that. I like Dustin's overconfidence. It's like, dude, these girls aren't gonna say yes.
No, Dustin.
It's so sad. It's so sad and relatable.
My boy.
He's trying so hard. Shall we?
No, but I do like that Nancy kind of becomes the older sister to the group.
And it's a great This is probably my favorite Nancy scene in the whole show. It's just a really sweet scene.
Well, this is payoff to that first season. She like said something like really mean to him.
Yeah, well, I think like pilot episode, one of the first things we established is that Dustin has a crush on Nancy. And it's something we rarely touch back on, like, you know, that Dustin has a crush on Mike's older sister. Like, this is just a really sweet scene.
Yeah.
And again, this kid is so good. Like, him crying here, it's very believable. It's not over the top because he's like really trying to hold it back. It's just such a good actor.
No, this is nice. My favorite Nancy stuff is in season 4.
She does get good stuff in 4. Like, so the first 3 seasons I know really well. I've seen every season at least 3 times. 4 I've only gone through once. So 4 I have to go through again before we do our commentary, because that is by far the season that's like the least fresh in my brain.
Yeah. I might just wing it.
We'll see.
I know
like
the stuff that I like in that show I know well enough, because that is the season. I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but that is the season I just go and watch like the clips, the stuff that I like.
But like this season, I haven't watched this show in a couple years, you know, until doing this commentary series with you. But like, even though it's been a couple years, I could just jump right into these first couple seasons just because I've seen it so many times. At least we get a payoff to this, because next season Dustin's gonna have a girlfriend, and no one believes.
And I've seen people hate on that singing section. I like it in season 3.
It's fun.
I honestly, I wouldn't be opposed if season 5 had a musical episode.
That's too much of a risk for the show. It wouldn't do anything that weird.
But like, have you heard Joe Keery's band?
I haven't. I know he's in a band. I've never really listened.
I'll have to send. They're not bad.
That's what I've heard. I may have listened to one song. I think my friend shared one with me, and I was like, "Oh." Cool.
And like Finn Wolfhard has musical training. Obviously, the guy that plays Dustin does. You could do a Stranger Things musical. I'd watch that.
You could. Twitter would freak out. So many people would yell and be angry about it. How dare the show do something weird and interesting? I do like this Hopper and Joyce scene though a lot. It's very intimate and sincere. And again, the Hopper and Joyce stuff, maybe it's a little obnoxious at the end of 3 and into 4, but it's not like Clark and Lana bad. It's like, this feels very organic. It wouldn't make sense for them to be dating at the start of 3. I mean, like, Joyce needs time. She's not gonna immediately date. Like,
that's what makes the stuff that I was complaining about during the season stand out more. Is like, most of the other relationship stuff is done, if not, you know, basic, at least competent. Doesn't make me want to claw my eyes out.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the song Joyce you should have picked.
I like the song fine.
This is the Obsession song. Everybody but Steve gets their happy ending.
Yep. And like I said, I like a lot of where we start with these characters at the start of 3. It's just unfortunate that like by episode 2, it's like, okay, remember how we took like 2 seasons to get Mike and 11 back together? Well, now we're gonna do the breakup story, and they're gonna be broken up for like the rest of the season.
That should have been like season 4.
Yeah.
Where it's the distance to just put a strain on the.
Mm-hmm.
And like, would she even understand what she feels for him?
I think we remember, we're also paying off that like the scenes of like her watching television or watching movies. Like she's
Yeah.
watched like romance movies and stuff. Again, I wish we did more with that, like her learning about culture and stuff. But okay, so here is going to be our season 3 tease. That, as I recall, shows the Mind Flayer in the Upside Down.
You could be right. I legitimately don't remember. I just remember seeing something that's like, oh, this is there.
Yeah, this is their a little tease.
Okay. Weird.
Yeah, it just feels a little retconny. Again, I think the explanation 3 is like, well, a piece of the Mind Flayer is in the real world, and that's what infects the rats and starts infecting people and stuff. But it doesn't play that way at the end of the season. It feels a lot of stuff like that just feels like we're kind of making it up as it goes along.
Oh no, Robert. Remember, the Russians open a new gate.
And then it gets out through that gate? Okay, if that's the idea, then I just forgot that.
Yeah, because they opened that prior to the events of season 2. So that is a little retconny, but not, I don't think, in a bad way.
Mm-hmm. But that was season 2.
Yeah,
Did it.
We did.
I don't think that episode is as good as the one before, but I still think it's a really good finale.
It's not. It's okay. I think 3 might be the best finale.
That's a good one.
And
again, 3, to your point about the show not being willing to take risks and playing and characters having plot armor, Hopper's fake out death is kind of a problem and a big symptom of that. Like I said, I am glad we don't kill Will here, and I will stand by that. It's the accumulative factor, right? Like we do this with Will, we do this with Hopper, we do this.
But it's funny too
Max.
because and then every time I propose someone die, you're like, no.
Well, I think there's a world where we just keep Hopper dead at the end of 3, and I'm fine with that. We haven't even talked about that yet.
Yeah, I just
also,
at some point.
I also said I was cool with Billy's death. I like where Billy's arc goes.
No, I am fine with it. I just wonder if maybe. I think I've settled more. I think I have settled less on he should have lived, and more Jonathan should have stepped up to fill that foil to Steve.
And I've been saying going into season 4, for the record, I was thinking they should kill Jonathan. That would be a big death. That would be a big blow to these characters. I've been saying this since 4 was coming out.
He's the most expendable.
Yeah, he's expendable, and it gives Joyce a lot to go through. It gives Will a lot to go through. And then you should spend time with that. Season 5 needs to, at least the first half of the season, should do something like that to just shake things up. To just raise the stakes again, we're in the end game.
We're in the end game now, boys. So now we're gonna do all 8 episodes of season 3, right?
Woo!
All right, get it to timestamps here.
Do you remember? Okay, do you remember when this show attempted its own Talking Dead?
Yes,
they did one season, I think.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember when that starts, but they do have something. They do have something for 4 because it's really funny. They show Joe Quinn, Joe Keery, and Maya Hawke the Big Eddie guitar scene, but none of them can see it because the show is lit like shit. So they're all going like.
It's been a while, but I did watch that.
Yeah.
That was season 2.
That was season 2,
but not as good as 1. But I still like a lot of it.
I like parts of it. I don't know. I feel like the whole Steven Nancy thing is Clark refusing to tell Lana the truth in Smallville, and I'm over that.
Yeah, I get it, but again, that's 3 episodes, and in Smallville, that's 6 seasons.
7, really, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, since Robert's we'll see, we're not going to watch season 3. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding.
You're gonna get canceled.
I didn't say anything wrong.
We're fine. Everyone's fine here.
But anyway, Robert, as always, it's been an honor. 2 more seasons to go. I think we can do season 3 in one go. That's 8 again.
We'll see.
Come on.
Come on.
And then season 4, the first half, those are all hour 20. Anywhere from hour 20 to an hour and 20.
I think
Except
what we'll
7.
do. Let me look. I think what we'll do when we get to 4, I think that's gotta be 3 streams. I don't know if I can do that.
No, I was actually just thinking that what we could do is we could do 1 through 6. Those are all anywhere from an hour to an hour 15, an hour 20, rounding up. And then we can do 6 or 7 and 8, which are both about an hour and a half. So that'd be about 3 hours. And then we'll just one stream for the 2.5 hour finale.
Maybe 1 through 5.
You think?
Yeah.
And then 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah. I think that works. Yeah, 1 through 5, 6 through 8, and then 9.
Okay.
But 3, I might do 2 again. But we'll see. But
come on, none of them are even longer than an hour, except the finale.
The finale's an hour 20.
Oh, you did 8 hours of Smallville. Come on.
I did, and it's catching up with me.
Oh, okay. Anyway, we'll talk shop later.